Paige, good to see you, man. We're coming back for another episode of Shark Jockey Weekly, where we tackle some of the current events in sports and the culture of sports. Paige, man, how you been?
Man, life is good. I can't complain, man. I told you about it, man. I made a trip to Asheville, North Carolina, man. One of the best experiences from a culinary standpoint, man. Amazing food, cool vibes in the town, man. You speaking about what's been going on, man. That has been the highlight of my month so far, man. A lot of primetime chefs, Michelin starred restaurants, man. But outside of that, man, just doing the kids. We got football in week 2 of preseason. Been some good ball being played, in terms of seeing rookies. Some of these high draft picks go out there and do their thing, man. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the season. I think it's gonna be, it's gonna be some highs and some lows for some people. I think some teams are gonna kind of, I ain't gonna say reinvent themselves, but they're gonna be some new players that we haven't seen, and a couple, 2 or 3 teams that can play their way in, 2 or 3 teams that can play their way out of the playoff scenario. But outside of that, man, just been living, bro.
Man, one thing you can guarantee, there's one certainty in sports, and that's something uncertain is going to happen. You know that, man. So let's jump into this preseason thing, man. You and I talked about this in another episode. We talked about injuries and we talked about players stepping up. And there was one injury that, jumps out to me is you got a quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, that's been doing well. He had a great preseason game, put up some great numbers, and now he's got a tear in his meniscus. And he's out for the preseason, but the coaches are still high on him. And again, we talked about he got injured in the preseason game,
Right.
and yet he's progressing really well. But then you turn to Drake May, who now the Patriots are saying, well, we're going to have to bring him along slow. He had, I think, maybe 7 total snaps in the preseason game. From just a number standpoint, he wasn't very impressive to a lot of people. He was 2 out of 3 for 19 yards and 7 plays. He just had that one series. But then when you look at JJ and his performance, he was 11 for 17, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 1 interception. Again, we're talking about rookies. We're talking about the difference between JJ being a 10th pick. Drake May, I think, was the 3rd pick in the draft, somewhere along in there. But 2 quarterbacks who right now seem to be going almost in different directions. But again, those injuries kick in. So to me, those 2 stood out because I'm always about that quarterback. That quarterback progression and development seems to be key because everybody's looking for that next Shroud down in Houston. They're looking for that. Who's gonna have that great year? And that seems to be, again, NFL's a quarterback league. So when I look at that, I wondered, are the Patriots losing faith in May, and yet they're trying to recover by saying they're bringing him along slowly, whereas you got the Vikings saying, look, we don't care if you got to tear your meniscus. We believe in what we see. I mean, in that type situation, Pace, from your experience, when you see those things happen, how does that impact the team in preseason?
I think the 2 situations are slightly different. And I say that because Gerard Mayo, who's their head coach, who was a great player, he's playing around the time I was in New York, man. Injuries derailed his career, but man, he was a hell of a middle linebacker. He came out and said basically, essentially, right at the start of camp, kind of that he was basically going to go with Jacoby Brissett, who is, he's a proven vet. He's been in New England at earlier in his career. And essentially, I think Gerard Mayo saw enough in the spring, even in his pre-draft evals, to say that he's probably not ready year one. And I'll tell you this, man, I love it, man. I love when a coach, organization understands, man, we're not about to throw this young man to the wolves and let him and ruin him year one. Because you got to remember, you playing in the shadow of Tom Brady. That's Tom
Yeah.
Brady's house. And so, the truth of it is, will he ever match what Tom Brady did? Probably not. Probably not. Probably no other quarterback will, just being honest, man. And so you're going to a franchise that knows about winning. They haven't won in a couple years, and they expect a lot. And so I think the best thing for him to do is to sit and learn from the good and the bad from Jacoby. Maximize his practice reps. He needs to be the first person in the whole building, the last person to leave. Like, this whole season needs to be about learning for him. And so
Yeah.
if he can take that, and who knows, maybe, week 12 versus now he's a totally different player. Maybe, and it can happen that way. A guy can look at the situation, all right, cool. I don't have the pressure of starting. Man, let me just go hit it every day, hit it hard. Let me train hard, let me eat properly, let me get my rest. I don't got to worry about a game. I'm still getting paid. I'm still the third overall pick. I'm still the future, right? And that might be 2 years away. I don't. There's literally no, in my mind, if you drafting a quarterback top 5, top 10, you're saying like, look, man, we're hedging our future franchise on you. So to me, to be able to get it right, you got to put him in when he's ready. So I'm a flip to the Minnesota situation. Their head coach Kevin O'Connell, who I played with in New York, kind of came out and said the same thing. They got Sam Darnold, who's been around the league a little bit. He
Yeah.
was a top pick, and he basically said, as of right now, we're gonna let Sam. It's looking like Sam. We'll put JJ in when we feel like he's ready. I thought he did some good things in the game. He had one bad turnover, which is expected. I mean, guys gonna make mistakes, but I would temper results of the game slightly because of this reason. Neither one of them guys probably were playing with many starters. I mean,
Yeah.
Minnesota ain't gonna put Justin Jefferson out there in the playoff game, in a preseason game. So now you're talking about JJ throwing the ball to a third, fourth receiver, and to put them numbers up is pretty impressive. He probably had a couple of starters on the offensive line. Probably a third receiver who's kind of in the mix. So he was able to do some things. I can't really speak to Drake's situation, but I would imagine he probably was in with probably some third team guys, maybe some guys who, eventually be on the practice squad. I say all that to say it's hard to judge a quarterback in particular if you don't have your normal pieces out there. You know what I mean? Like, and this is no disrespect to anybody on either team, but if you asking Drake May to be at his best throwing the ball to a eighth, ninth receiver on the roster who probably not gonna make the roster, it's not gonna look right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And typically, man, your preseason game plans are super super vanilla. I mean, it's day one stuff. It's not because you don't want to show anything. You don't want to show all your good stuff, man. But even with those guys, man, I think JJ's situation was encouraging. It's sad to see him get dinged up like that, and hopefully it's not a serious situation with the meniscus because that's a serious injury. But that being said, I mean, I think the thing about the Patriots situation, I think they understand they're not close. I think Minnesota has some pieces to be in the playoff conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I think New England understands, man. We just don't have a roster, and so it's just wise just to, hey, man, let the man sit down for a year. Let's do what we do. Let's see if we can add some more pieces. Their cap situation is pretty solid. This is looking like they're probably not going to be that good, so they're probably looking at another high pick. So, I think if they can kind of stick to that game plan, hopefully no injuries happen when they got to throw him in there. I think the young man got a chance, man. I think he got a chance to be a solid quarterback.
What's your top story what's your top, story coming out of week 1 preseason where things kind of are now?
Man, Michael Penix did his thing in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I thought Penix was probably the best pro-ready quarterback. I really did. Just watching him spin it at Washington. The way he can get the ball out of his hand, the way he can read it, the way he makes decisions quickly, quick release. He can make any throw and get it there. You know what I'm saying? I thought he was the most pro-ready. Now he's got some injury concerns. Tore his knee up 2 times, got some banged up shoulders, and he's a little older than most quarterbacks came in the league at 24. But that being said, I mean, after that, I'd probably say Caleb Williams. I watched him 2 preseason games. He's done
Yeah.
well, and I like Caleb, man. I think he's best off script, and just moving around the pocket, making some things happen. But the thing I love about the Bears, man, they surrounded that young man with some talent, man. Their GM Ryan Poles, man, has done a really, really good job of acquiring talent and making trades to acquire draft capital, which he's used to draft Caleb. He's used to draft some Roma Odunze, the receiver they got this year. He traded for Montez Sweat last year. He's done really well. Led the team in sacks. He got there halfway during the year. The defense is looking up. Do I think they're a playoff team? Maybe. But the future is looking real, real bright in Chicago. To be honest with you, I think the offensive rookie of the year, which is Marvin Harrison, what I've been reading about him, he's doing really well. Reason why I say he'll be the offensive rookie of the year, 6'5", 4'3", you got the Hall of Fame pedigree with your dad being Marvin Harrison. And you got a proven quarterback who's going to be looking for him. And quiet as kept, they got a really, really good underrated receiver in Michael Wilson on the other side, who's coming into his second year, who did some really, really good things last year. And then moving through the draft, the left tackle from Joe Alt that was drafted from Notre Dame. He's in L.A. right now with the Chargers. He's doing well. Dallas Turner, defensive end out of Alabama, went to Minnesota, I think 15th overall. Had a sack first game versus a proven starter in Andrews Pete. He's playing the Raiders, doing well. You got some guys, man, that had good preseason, solid preseason openers, man. The guy who was probably most impressive was a guy by the name of Byron Murphy II. He's in Seattle, D tackle out of Texas. Disruptive, man. Not the probably 6'2", 6'3", just disruptive up the field. Had a couple of hits on the quarterback, man. I think he's going to be a force. I think if I had to say it based on his first preseason game, I know it's a super, super short sample size, he probably might be my defensive rookie of the year. I really do. He reminds me a lot of a guy I played with in New York named Sheldon Richardson, Sheldon was defensive rookie of the year his rookie year. And Sheldon was super disruptive, man. Made a lot of plays for us. So that's that. I mean, and the thing is, man, it's tough to get a gauge on guys in the preseason just because, you got nerves involved. You're at a higher level. It's just different, man. Space where the nerves kind of can get to you and speed things up. And, you get that first tackle and it's that, all right, cool, we're here. And then you're trying to just keep making plays. You're going to make mistakes. But the biggest thing is trying to just put good film out there. You know what I'm saying? Even bad plays, just be able to get back, see some stuff live, real reps, live bullets, we used to call it. And so now you can go back and really be coached. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you practice against your own people, it's like if I know you play fullback, I'm playing linebacker, I know how you coming. We didn't practice against each other in the spring.
Yeah.
I play against somebody else, they might attack me a little differently. So now I can really be coached on, okay, this is how it's really going to happen. You know what I mean? This is how this guy's going to attack you with a shoulder. Is he going to go low? Is he going to stay high? Reads and all those different types of things. But, I will say this, man. The future is looking really, really bright for some teams because a lot of these guys who were top picks went out there and put some good film out there. And, I just think that the quarterback situation, if played right, some of these teams got some real good pieces and they got some real young talent at the quarterback spot. They just got to be managed. You just cannot put a kid out there who's not ready. You can't. Because if you do that, you're going to ruin him. You're going to ruin the season. Essentially, you're wasting money. You know what I mean? If you put a guy out there who's not ready, the whole rest of the roster is wasted. Because now, we're playing against, playing with a guy who can't really get us there.
Yeah. I could see Marvin Harrison Jr. making some waves. I just want to see what can he do now against more physical defensive backs. And when you're that rookie that are putting up, numbers in preseason, now, you kind of become a target. And what can he do, against that potential when they start sliding that coverage, and now you're getting doubled and you're a rookie because they don't want to let that rookie put up a bunch of numbers against them. That defensive coordinator's got his job on the line, and he don't want to lose it to a rookie wide receiver. But again, when your father is Marvin Harrison Sr. and he's sliding you tips, it's not much. You as a defense, you're not just playing against him as a player. You also playing against the insight from his father, which is a rare thing to have, man. But now, kind of shifting to some more veteran news in the league, man. I saw today where, and I want to get your take on this, man. When you got a situation like, say, Brandon Ayuk got with San Francisco, they gave him a long-term deal. They offered it to him. He hasn't accepted. And all day people have been talking about, a three-team trade deal, Pittsburgh being, the leading team. Do situations like that, do they really – you hear commentators talk about, oh, is this a distraction to the team? When you've got a teammate like that is in the middle of negotiating a contract, trying to figure things out, maybe they're holding out, and you hear about trade deals and things like that. Is that really a distraction to the entire team, or is that just something that networks and analysts will push just for viewers and to have something to talk about?
Yes, it is a distraction. And it's crazy because the networks, like you said, the networks and the commentators and whoever else, the journalists, are the ones pushing that distraction. And it's just part of their job. It is. Because they're just trying to gather information. But my situation, man, what year is that? 2011. Reeves, Hall of Fame cornerback, was holding out, trying to get paid. At that time, Darrelle Reeves was widely respected as the best cornerback in the NFL. There was some kind of beef or gripe between his agent and our owner, and the deal just couldn't get done, and they shipped him to Tampa. And this whole time, the media is Darrelle Reeves. And as a player, you're like, I know as much as you know. He's not calling me every day, hey, man, they offered me this. I told them to kiss my. It doesn't happen that way. It does not happen that way. What you do is, man, you offer as much support as you can to a guy, but you don't really bring it up, man. You don't bring it up. Like nobody's talking to nobody in just the business world or just outside of sports. I'm not coming to you, hey, Kevin, man, how much money are you making? And people treating you right? It didn't happen that way. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, it's about support. It's about, hey, man, you see a guy, you dap him up, you just kind of keep it lighthearted because it's not like they don't want to be there. It's not. That's not ever the case. They just want their money. They just want to be compensated for what they do. Everybody in the building understands that. Everybody from the trainers, equipment people, the janitors understand that. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like, pay this man. But our problem is we can't pay him. It's not our money to pay. We're not negotiating. So, again, as a player, you just do your part. You know what I'm saying? You try to stay in contact with a guy. The IU situation is a little different from what I dealt with because he's actually there. Where Reeves he was holding out away from the team. But I'll say this about the IU situation. I've read into it, man. People want, I think, to be in the top. You want to be top paid receiver, right? If Kevin Smith gets paid a $50 million deal, you get 25 up front, 25 million up front. When it's my time, I'm like, I got to get paid more than Smitty. I got to get paid more than Smitty. And that's cool, but you really want to make sure your guaranteed money is good. You want to make sure the structure of it is good because you don't want to have a deal where you're getting paid $30 million in your last year. You're not ever going to see that, right? You want to get as much upfront money as you can. And you want your averages to average out to be in the top 10, top 5, wherever you see yourself. And I think really the truth of it is, I looked at the teams that was available for him. There was some talk about Cleveland. They've since backed out. New England had a deal on the table for him that was going to pay him in the top 5. He chose not to do it. He didn't want to sign a long-term deal because he felt like the quarterback situation wasn't settled. Smart as hell.
Yep.
Smart as hell. That's the one position if you can't go to a team that doesn't have a quarterback at receiver. So the last thing I've read is Pittsburgh, and he's saying the same exact thing, and he's right. You got an old Russell Wilson, and you got a Justin Fields who nobody knows. Nobody knows. I mean, we know you're talented, but you just haven't been able to put it all together. That doesn't bode well for a guy who needs for a quarterback and a system to be in place to where you can get me the ball and I can do my thing. He's come out and said he preferred to stay in San Fran, and that's actually the perfect situation. You just got to understand San Fran is they're where they at from an offer situation. So it's not going to be peanuts, trust me. But I don't see them going much higher because they haven't yet. I mean, they're just stalemate right now, and they're telling you like, you can take this deal or we can trade you, and you don't really see many situations like that. It's either or. It's like we're gonna try our hardest to make it work, or we just can't do it. You know what I'm saying?
I
With
think
that
that
being said,
might be the new way, Pace. I think because, in the past we've seen situations similar where a player may come into camp and they're like, "Look, either pay me, trade me, or whatever," and that lingers on. And it just seems like the 49ers are like, "Look, we've had some success. We're not going to let this crap I ain't going to call it crap. We're not going to let this situation linger. We're going to settle this one way or the other because they, like you said, he's thinking about his long-term future. I want to go somewhere where there's a quarterback, all of those things. But San Francisco don't care. I don't think they care where they send him. I think they care what they get in return. And at the same time, I wonder if this is that new way that organizations are saying, look, we've seen situations like this go really bad when they aren't handled immediately, when they aren't taken care of. And we're going to take care of this one way or the other. Either you're going to take this deal or we're going to trade you and keep it pushing. I think he essentially signs with San Francisco. I think that's his best bet. They've got a lot of good pieces in place. I still think that they're one of the top picks for the NFC to come out of that, to be in a battle for it. And I just think that, sometimes you got to step back. But again, whatever decision he makes, is cool. But I think somebody, either with the organization, use that trade as a bargaining chip to try to get some leverage somewhere. That, hey, we said we'll trade you. We got these deals, but I'm like you, man. Cleveland, come on, man. Who's really? That's what you that's what you reaching for.
and that's the thing. I mean, they're not going to trade you to a team that they're going to potentially have to face. You're never going to go
True.
to a division rival.
Yep.
Typically, teams like I told you, the Jets traded Reeves to Tampa. At the time, Tampa was trash. And in my mind, when they traded him to Tampa, I was like, "Oh, you trying to kill this man? Ain't nothing going on in Tampa." And don't get me wrong, he made it out. He ended up getting traded to New England, got a ring. Did his thing. But in that space specifically, at receiver, if you don't have a quarterback, man, and I mean, look, man. You got a great young quarterback in Brock Purdy. You got arguably the best running back in the league, Christian McCaffrey. You got the best left tackle. You got a good offense, very good offensive line. You got stars on the defense. You got Debo Samuel with you at receiver. Sometimes you got to factor in and you're in San Francisco. So San Francisco has a rich tradition. I'm sure they treat their players well out there in terms of the community, in terms of just the love that they get. Pittsburgh has the same love. All I'm saying is and you got one of the best offensive minds in Kyle Shanahan. You go to Pittsburgh, you got Arthur Smith, who is the run-dominant offensive coordinator. That didn't bode well for a wide receiver. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Just if I'm him, I kind of step back a little bit and I look at it, maybe take my feelings out of it a little bit, because, again, I'm telling you I'm this. You see these numbers of this, just pay me this. And they're like, wait a minute now. Here's the problem with San Fran. They still got to pay their quarterback next year, Brock Purdy.
Yep.
So we can't give you everything you want. And outside of paying Brock Purdy, we got to get this money from somewhere. So some of these other pieces got to go.
Yep.
See, that's the thing that always happens when young quarterbacks get drafted or get paid. We can keep everybody for a year. But once this salary cap start getting high, we got to start letting some people go because we can't keep you just under the cap. We can't. You see it in dude, they had to trade Stephon Diggs. They let Gabe Davis go. They had to let some pieces go. they're going to take a step back this year. They said, look, man, we paying this quarterback $50-something million a year. It's on him. It's on him. If you
Yeah.
look at anybody's roster, you look at what people are making, the money will tell you who they expecting to really help get us over the top. The money alone will tell them that. If you making $380,000 and I'm making $17 million a year, they not really tripping on. I mean, they looking at me. Hey man, you ain't getting no sacks. You ain't doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
380, we wasn't expecting you to do that. You know what I'm saying? If you do
Yeah.
it, cool. But we wasn't expecting it, man. And I'll give you another situation. It's the same thing in Dallas with CD Lamb. Now he'll get paid. Jerry will pay him. For whatever reason, Jerry like to stall out his own players to the last minute. Dallas' problem is they still got to pay Dak Prescott. And he's looking at it right with $60 million a year. And the problem with Dak is his postseason doesn't speak to $60 million a year. Every postseason he just kind of just craps out for whatever reason. Even last year he had an MVP caliber season in the playoffs. I mean, they got smoked by Green Bay.
Yeah.
I'm not putting it all on him. I'm not. I can't put it all on him. But he had some bad moments that wasn't him. And I guarantee you, players are looking at him like, "Come on, bro! Like we need you. We need you to find a way." Because everybody else is like, "Hey, look, man, it's only so many tackles you can get at middle linebacker." You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I can
Yeah.
go out here and get 10 picks in one game, but I'm not throwing touchdowns. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I can get 10 picks and we can still lose 20-0. You know what I'm saying?
I think that you brought up a good point with Dallas, man. I still think that they've got some problems, and it's not necessarily on the field. I think that when you are a franchise like Dallas, you get caught in between what's best for the brand and then what's best for the team. I don't know if they paid Dak. I can't guarantee that they will.
I've been
Because
reading
again, I
that.
think Itten Parsons' contract don't they have to pay him at some point?
Carson got to
So
get paid next year. I've been reading that Jerry Love should do with Sanders.
that
I've been reading.
again, that's what. But will that be a pick for? Again, that's a pick that it'll be a young guy. He's going to come in on a rookie contract, but Shador is going to put butts in the seats regardless. The people are going to buy the jersey. So does he look at? Oh wow, do I pay Dak even though he has a great regular season, but he doesn't really win for me in the postseason? And pay Parsons, keep my defense together at some level, and then bring in Shador. But then you might as well blow up your offense and start over when you talk about a rookie quarterback. So that's what I'm saying. If and nothing against Shador, I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. I'm just saying that sometimes Dallas has been known to make moves simply to keep Dallas in the news because sometimes I think Jerry's more. I think he gets more excited about Dallas being in the news than damn Dallas being in the Super Bowl.
Well, Jerry used to play, man. They say Jerry
Yeah,
has a game. You know what I'm saying? And I think,
but come on, Pace. When he played, the game ain't nowhere near. Come on now.
but I
Did he
say
even
that.
play against black players?
No, he didn't.
There it is. So the game wasn't even. I'm not trying to discredit him. Cool, but it was a totally different type of game.
But I say that because I think he has a true love for the game, and I think he understands. I mean, it's just like you and myself or anybody else who's played Division One or any type of football. You know the sacrifices. You know what it took to get you to that spot wherever you landed and finished. And so it's almost like that never leaves you. A lot of those principles and plan, they kind of stick with you throughout your life. You know what I'm saying? You can fall back on a lot of different things for football. And I think Jerry lives in that space alongside with his business acumen. So Jerry understands I'm the biggest show in town, in the biggest state. I'm America's team. So he
Yep.
used that leverage to kind of basically already, he's like the ultimate hype man. And then you got the media that follows along with it that basically every single year it's the Cowboys. Every single year.
Yep.
And every single year they let you down. And I think as a player, the pressure of that, to a certain degree, I guarantee you nobody's speaking on it. But, it's different when you everybody's Super Bowl. It is. It's different. It's different when you the hunter or you the hunted. And so when you the hunted, you know, everybody coming to bring their best against you. When you the hunter, you know, man, you gonna do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no
Yeah.
pressure. You know, I've been when we was the year after our first AFC Championship game, man. We pull up the hotels, fans outside packed it out. You know what I'm saying? All our games sold out. I done seen everybody on our sideline from A-Rod, Jennifer Lopez, Tracy Morgan, Shaq, D. I'm seeing, man, George Bush when he was president. I've seen everybody on our sideline when we was on and popping. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it wasn't pressure, but the magnitude of it was evident. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, man, not everybody can handle those moments. Now, don't get me wrong, your stars, Michael Parsons, and they're not really worried about stuff like that. But you know, there's some other guys that I'm sure it's a wild moment. I'm sure, you know, it can get overwhelming. And then, like I said, man, you the biggest show in town, it's Dallas
Yeah.
Cowboys. You know, you got Dallas Cowboys fans in every part of this country. You ain't got Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, you ain't got Seattle Seahawks fans in every part of this country. It just ain't. You know, they don't have
Yeah.
that rich history like that. So, that being said, you know, one would say, man, you love for Jared to take a step back, just kind of just play the owner role. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't think that's in his makeup. I don't. I think he had a plan to a certain degree. And he was like, man, y'all live it up. I'm living it up too. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, I mean, the Cowboys' main problem, I would say, man, is just for whatever reason, man, their postseason. You know, during the season, it's always status quo. They're always going to be around 10 wins minimum. They're always going to be in the mix. In a tough division with Philly. I think Washington will be better this year with Dan Quinn. I don't know about the Giants. And so their road is always a little more difficult, you know, because divisions, you know, you just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Some divisions are
Hmm.
easier than others. But, you know, I would probably say, man, the biggest thing is just Dak, man. Is Dak finding a way. And again, I spoke to you about money. Man, $60 million, everybody looking at you. Hey, man. And we get in the playoff game, you throwing two, three interceptions. It just you can't win like that. You can't win if we get in the red zone. We're not getting touchdowns. We can't win if you're not managing the game properly. You know,
Yeah.
and it's sad to say, and I hate saying this as a player, but a former player, but you win and lose with quarterbacks. You really do.
Yeah.
And you see it across the league, man. From a young guy like last year, Bryce Young, to Patrick Mahomes. Like, you see it. You see Lamar Jackson got paid 2-time MVP, face Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. Hey, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But I think that's at all levels of football. I think football is with that game is the quarterback. I mean, you look at successful college programs. When they make their runs at national championships, you look at the quality of the quarterback play.
and
It's
even
almost
with
like in baseball, man. You go as far as your pitching staff, that's as far as you go. You can have a joker banging out 40, 50 home runs, that's great. But the other team got to hit too. And if your pitching staff is not together, then there goes your season. And
or
that's
if they
why
can't rise to the occasion in the big moment. You
yeah,
know,
that's the difference maker. And that's what I was going to ask you, man, is what's that big difference between, that season play and playoff play?
and playoffs, man, it just depends how you attack it, man. I've only been to the playoffs twice. Went to the AFC Championship game twice. But the thing about it is, what was our saving grace outside of having a good team was Rex Ryan. Rex, man, his message was, man, the first year I went, we were the third team ever to have 2 3 game losing streaks in the season. We had to beat the Colts the last game of the season to make the playoffs. The only thing really that saved us that game was they sat all their starters, right? So we beat them, made it in, and that next week Rex was like, "Look, all you want is a chance. You just want a shot in the playoffs." He said, "At that point in time, anything can happen." And so he didn't coach scared. His game plans weren't scared. He was talking to us like we was undefeated, like
Yeah.
you know. Rex talk spicy. He cussing, he talking bad shit all day, every day. And so we just looked at it like, man, don't nobody expect us to be here anyway. We about to just come out here and just thump and just let the chips fall where they may. And so, in sports, man, if you the team with no pressure, man, you playing with house money. Cause ain't nobody
Yeah.
expect us to be here anyway. Everybody picked us to lose the first game anyway. So we was loose. We were playing free. Man, it was probably those two times I went to the playoffs. Man, I can't say that I ever played on more confident teams. And like I said, the first year I went, we really shouldn't have been that confident because we literally barely made it in. We played Cincinnati on the road, beat them. Had to go to San Diego. San Diego was 13-1 that year. It had number one offense and defense. Smoked them at San Diego. And then we played the Colts in the AFC Championship game and lost. Should have won the game, really.
Yeah.
Lost in Indy. And so again, to me, a lot of that is just message, standing on what you do, because sometimes coaches can get in those moments and get outside of the game plan, or just start reverting back to some stuff that wasn't working, and just play free, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you're the only game's on. Everybody's watching. It's the same football it always is. And so I give you my situation. I'll never forget this ever in my life. We sit in a hotel in Indy, played an 8 o'clock game. Smitty, it seemed like I was in that hotel for 30 hours, man. I didn't watch movies. I didn't took a nap. I didn't went and got something to eat. Still had another 3 hours. And so I just remember like 45 to an hour before we had to get on the bus, I just had these nerves come over me, and I was just like, oh man. I was like, I just started panicking. And then I was like, man, it's just football, man. It's the same game
Yeah.
I've been playing since I was 9. You go out there, get that first hit, you're like, all right, let's go. You know what I'm saying? But
And,
outside of that, man, it's really about just doing what you're supposed to do, what got you there. And I'll say this: it's always one person who you don't count on who has to make a play for you. Always. Every team who's ever went far had one player at some point in time make a play that nobody expected them to make that play. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Whether that's an interception, whether that's a stop on defense, whether that's just a smart play that kept the chains moving or got you off the field or something. It's always that one play from a player that stands out. Even going back to when Fred and them and the Giants were in the Super Bowl and David Tyree caught that ball on his helmet.
Yeah.
Man, David Tyree was a special teams player.
Yep.
You knew him for the special teams. He was in there in that moment. I guarantee you the Patriots wasn't expecting him to catch that ball. The ball even been thrown to him.
Yep.
He made a play. You know what I'm saying? His name will live on forever for that one play. For that one play, his name will live on forever.
And you're right, man. People don't even talk about the catch for the actual touchdown to put them ahead. They bring that up as like a little footnote afterthought, like Plexico in the end zone, cool, whatever. But that catch to put them in that situation and move the ball, man, that's really going to be the story, man. But Pace, real quick, I want to ask you something, man. You brought up something about, you had to sit around in the hotel room, man. For me, the earlier the game is, the better.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't like, man, I used to hate sitting around for those, 8 o'clock kickoff, stuff like that. Well, and I get it. You got time slots for TV. But, man, I like to get up, have that breakfast, that team meal for breakfast. You go to a couple of meetings. You get on the bus. You're at the stadium. You hit it. And, you get it in at 12 or whatever, and then you move on. But when you got players just sitting around, you got to watch other teams play. You might have an hour or so, and they just say take a nap or, start having visualization exercises, visualize yourself. Man, I'm bored as fuck. Because I'm trying to get this thing moving, and then you start thinking about other stuff, man. I like to get in, like they say, punch in, do my work, and then take it to the house, get it over with, man. But what was your favorite time slot to really play?
I used to love the 4 o'clock game because I felt like at that point you could sleep in a little bit. When I say sleep in, like 11 o'clock, that type of thing. First meeting ain't till like 12:31. You know what I'm saying? Get something to eat casually. You know what I mean? Like be able to kind of have the game in your sights, but not having it be like immediate. And then I feel like too, playing in a place like New York, man, that early morning in the wintertime or
Oh yeah.
you kind of let the weather and some things kind of play out. You kind of get your mind right. Maybe get you a chance to watch a little more film. If you got some injuries or something, get some work on you. Hot tub, cold tub. You just got a little more time to kind of get going. I always hated the Monday night game. I mean, I love the atmosphere. I love being the only game on TV. I just didn't like having to wait. That Thursday night sucked too because it just seemed stupid to play on Thursday. But that'd probably be it. Sunday night was kind of bad too, because you play Sunday night and have to be in the building bright and early the next day. It just seemed like
Oh man.
you never really got a chance to ever really recover. But a good 4 o'clock game, man. I liked four because I just felt like it wasn't too rushed at 1 o'clock, and it wasn't too late at 8 o'clock. I feel like that
Yeah.
was like right there in the middle to where kind of you had.
Yeah, that always irritated me, man. And I understand, coaches want to keep you on the schedule, but the thing that would always irritate me is you play a later game, especially in college. You play a late game, and then you got the flight, you got to travel back, and then you still got to be up the next morning for treatment at like 7 8 a.m. and then you still got your walkthroughs or your practice or whatever, and it's like you don't really get the most important thing that helps with recovery is you don't really get that rest because you're on that plane, you're ready to get back. And something we talked about off air is you don't even get to experience your family or any time. You still in that football mode. And so, you traveling back and you still got to be up early, and then that's all you thinking about. You're not even having a chance to think about resting and really recovering. You going back to your place, and you're thinking, damn, I still got to get up early and go to treatment, and then that gets on your mind. So you're gonna lose 3-4 hours of sleep because you're getting in late. Then you got to still show up at the facility. I mean, and people, I think a lot of fans really don't understand the full scale of what a lot of athletes go through just to play that game, just to be a part of that team, and to what it takes to really perform at a high level, and don't have an injury that like
See,
a
here's the thing too. To get yourself ready for a game, right? Play the game. You out there fighting against another grown man. Depending on what position you playing, sometimes two grown men at one time.
yeah.
It ain't no ever situation I ever been able to go home and go get right in the bed and go to sleep. I could tell
Oh
you
yeah.
more times that I
Yeah.
didn't actually get any sleep and go right into the facility. Like I might be in the bed, but I couldn't actually fall asleep because while I'm still thinking about the game, I might be nicked up. I mean, but I can't tell you how hard it is to sleep with turf burns on your arms and legs. And don't let that AC joint be fired up, or you ain't sleeping at all. You are not
Yeah.
gonna go to sleep. You might as well sit in your recliner and just watch some TV the rest of the night.
Yep.
You ain't getting no sleep. And
Yeah.
so that's why I think the league has changed now. Because I remember in New York they did a lot of sleep studies, and they had a big portion of the training room was dedicated to sleep. So even going to the West Coast, we used to have sleep schedules, and they give us, a lot of reading material in terms of like when to actually go to sleep out there to keep your body on the same schedule. And like you were saying, a lot of people don't understand. One of the hardest things to do is to go from the East Coast to the West Coast and play a game
Oh yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
just you're playing the game earlier. You know what I'm saying? Your rest is thrown off. Your whole routine is thrown off. You know what I mean? And it's almost like you literally just wake up and play. Whereas you on the East Coast, you got a little bit more time. Then we would leave on Friday. Um, Depending if we played in San Fran or Oakland or something like that, leave on Friday, have a walkthrough on Saturday. It just never felt right. You know what I mean? It never felt right. And don't get me wrong, some
Yeah.
teams go out there and do it well. It just, for whatever reason, man, going on the West Coast and playing was a thing that we couldn't really get past in terms of just going out there and being successful, being able to start fast. For whatever reason, it always seemed like it took us like to halftime to finally get into the game and understand and play at a tempo and speed that was winning football. But I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of little storylines that, you just, if you were outside spectator, you wouldn't really grasp it. You wouldn't think like, because there's people travel. You're like, oh, I travel to California all the time. I live in Atlanta for my job. That's cool. You just sit in the office. You
Yeah,
go to
that's what I
work.
was saying. Yeah, you're not pushing your body to the next level, like you said. You're not going up against another grown man physically for 3.5, 4 hours. You're not doing that. So your body gets a chance to adjust on its own, and I think that's why when you're used to having early practices, say you practice early in the afternoon or whatever, your body gets used to that, and you start to get into a rhythm, and I think your body creates a habit. We're humans, we're creatures of habit, and so when your body is used to tuning up early in the afternoon, and then you got to kind of hold that back. Like again, your body almost has a mind of its own, and it's up to your brain to catch up with that. So to your point, man, trying to fall right asleep after a game, unless you're just that exhausted. But again, because your body is still going, that adrenaline is still pumping, and I don't think people really get to experience what that adrenaline rush is, and because you're not just on an adrenaline rush for one play. Your body is you're pretty much psychologically and physically you tuned up for 3.5, 4 hours,
Yeah.
and I don't think you really rest on the plane. I don't think you rest on the bus. I think your body just shuts down and you just close your eyes as a part of that process. But you don't really get that rest and that sleep. And like you said, man, don't dislocate your shoulder and then you got to go to sleep, or don't sprain your neck, or you got a ankle injury or knee injury and you got to keep it elevated, but you might be one that sleep on your side. Now you really off, man. And
Ain't
and
no sleep.
that's what I say. I don't think people really understand the mental and physical, just natural strain you go through, particularly as a football player, man. I know all sports have their things, but I think in football, man, that physical aspect, because you're going against another grown adult that is highly trained, and it's all physical, and you're in that battle for 3.5 to 4 hours going at each other.
I'm getting
And
another one, Smitty. Don't let you have had a bad game.
oh,
Man, you sitting up all night thinking about that film.
and then you got to cut your phone off. You got to. So you can't even really talk to anybody about it.
Yeah, no.
And it,
It's a space to where I don't, your body's trying to say, man, I'm tired, but I'm
yeah,
still amped up. I still, you didn't rev me up literally from pre warm ups. We ain't even talking about the team warm up. You didn't have me
yeah,
revved up for that, to the warm up, to back to the locker room, to we intro, and then we got a whole game. Your body like, man, I got another hour. I got 2 more hours ready,
yep,
right? In your mind, like, man, I'm thinking about this play, or you ecstatic about the win, and to be totally honest with you, man, that's where some of the vices come in. That's where some of the
yeah,
recreational drugs. That's where some of the alcohol come in. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. When I played, man, for 12 out of 13, no, 11 out of 13 years, I took Ambien
yeah,
during the season. I would never, like literally the last day of the football season. I never took Ambien in the off season. But I remember being in Arizona and just talking to the trainers, like, man, I just don't sleep. I don't
yeah,
sleep. And I didn't know anything about Ambien. I was like, look, we'll prescribe you some sleep aids, man. It's one of the best things that ever happened to me, man. Cause, bro, I didn't sleep. I'd get into bed and just be looking at the ceiling. And this is practice weeks. I'm thinking about I did well, I did bad. I'm nervous. You know what I mean? I was all over
mm-hmm,
the place. And so, there's been studies that say that, if you're sleeping proper, it affects everything from your
yep,
physical health, your mental health. You're not sharp as you normally are. But again, we've talked about this. I would say more so football, more so than any other sport, is the militaristic mindset and principles that's involved in that. And the thing is like you just kind of taught like, hey, you just got to keep moving forward. Don't nobody.
Yeah.
You ain't never heard no coach. You ain't ever heard Mel Foles ask you, "You get enough sleep last night?" Baby? You ain't ever heard Caldwell James. Ain't nobody ever at Wake Forest, even in the pro, ain't nobody
And,
ever asked me
yep.
how I slept. Not
Yep.
one time. You know what
Because
I'm
they
saying?
already know that you didn't. They already know, and then even from the college to the pros, then you got personal shit you got to deal with. You know,
You got
whether
social
it's
life too.
whether it's in college, you still got to study, turn shit in, or in the
Hey,
pros,
look,
you know,
yeah.
your old lady maybe, doing whatever. Now you got to deal with that. You got family. Again,
See,
sometimes you got to cut
I
that
tell you
phone
this.
off.
If I give you $20 million guaranteed, $20 million, and I put you playing for the Miami Dolphins, you are not getting into bed before 1 o'clock. Ever. Ever. You are never getting into bed before 1 o'clock in the morning. You know why? Because that $20 million and whatever lifestyle you live in, you can afford it. You can afford to
Yeah,
go do whatever. And it ain't even got to be you driving places. Now you can get you a driver to take you places. Now you can bring the party to your house. You can do a whole bunch. Man, truth be
yeah,
told, and I've seen it before. Man, you can take you a PJ and go to Vegas for the weekend. Coach give you a couple days off. Oh man, we about to shoot to Vegas. Get the PJ. Come on back. I'll be back Monday morning. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Fly
And
right
that
on in and head straight to practice.
And that's
So
but see that's that adrenaline rush because now you got another adrenaline rush because now you get to have fun away from it, away from the game. Like you said, you get to spend that money that you've earned. You get to have a good time, and again, but your body is still going. Man, one of the worst things I think. Well, it was a good thing at the moment, and it was cool, but it wasn't probably wasn't the best thing from a football standpoint. Definitely not from an academic standpoint. But remember, after we played Georgia Tech, I don't know what I was thinking, man. And I ain't gonna call out no names, but I don't know what I was thinking in throwing that big ass party after the game.
the moment. You was in the moment, and that's what the moment called for.
I don't know what was going through my mind, but that again, you trying to have fun. You trying to have a full experience that as an athlete you don't always get. You don't always get to do those things that everybody else does when they're working and they get that time, that designated time off. They get the weekend off and all of that. So you got to fit that in the best way you can. And when you do, you got to go hard in the paint because you don't know when you're going to get that time again. And then you got other teammates, they trying to get it in too. So you have those moments, like you said, you taking that PJ to Vegas. Well, sometimes you ain't going by yourself. It's some other cats they're going with you because everybody's trying to have a good time and enjoy those moments of life that have been taken away from you throughout your career at every level. You and I were talking about this earlier, man, where even in high school, man, just to play sports in high school, you got to put that time in. You don't always get to enjoy your weekend because you done got beat up on Friday night, so that impacts your Saturday. And so, man, it's one of those things where, for me, you're put in a tough situation, especially as a football player, just because of physically, not just only the energy that you push out, but the physicality of the game that you still trying to have some sort of a full experience in life in general at every level. And so, like you said, you getting that 20 million guaranteed, and then you done got the weekend off because maybe it's a bye week or whatever. You ain't about to be shut up in your spot for those days and think, man, let me get a lot of rest. Maybe later in your career, once you've had some experiences, but you got to get that stuff out of your system. And
And
so
then, and then I'll say this, man, not to interrupt you, is like everything that you do in football is to the max. Everything is to
yeah,
the max. There's very
yeah,
few times that I put it to you like this: they have designated times where this is walkthrough.
yeah,
It typically is 1 period, maybe 2 periods. It's few and far between that you're gonna actually just be out there not giving it your all. When it's time to go, they expect you to max out every single play. When it's competition time, is hey, we need you going. And
Yeah.
so, same thing in the weight room. You ain't never been in the weight room and coach telling you, hey man, I need you to do 115 for 10. You ain't never seen that. And listen, this ain't no disrespect to no other sport, man, because I used to be like, man, I wouldn't mind doing this. Man, I remember used to seeing baseball players in the weight room, they got 5 pound, 2.5. They here, you know what I'm saying? They might jump rope a little bit, walk on the treadmill. They ain't even running, they walking on the treadmill. Get up out of there. Yeah, they in and out in 30 minutes. We just
Man,
getting warmed up in 30 minutes. We got
I'm gonna
another 2
catch. I'm
hours.
gonna catch hell for this one, man. I'm gonna catch hell. You talk about baseball. I'm gonna catch hell. I don't care. You know who some of the worst people to watch in a weight room? Basketball players.
Got the gloves on, all kind of. You got a back brace on, squatting 135. Man, get out of here, man. Get out
I
of here.
mean, no disrespect. They're great athletes. Respect their sport, but you want to see something funny. Watch a shooting guard in the weight room. Watch a point guard in the weight. You want to see something funny? Watch that. Michael Jordan kind of was different, but even when they were showing some of the stuff he was lifting, man, I think like he maxed out at 225 or something like that. Oh, but yeah, that's watching. That's now those are some funny cats to see in the weight room.
But like you said, we talked about it off the air. It is what it is. Football, you're the top of the food chain.
Yeah,
These are the lions. These are the apex predators. You know what I'm saying? And ironically, in saying that, football and the animal kingdom they have a lot of similarities. It's like, hey man, I need to eat,
yeah,
and right now you looking like my food, and so that's a big portion of it is like imposing your will on another man. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And whoever can do that and win the one-on-one matchup the most is dominant. That's the biggest
yeah,
difference between college and the pros. In college, it's about just making raw plays. You know what I'm saying? It's about traits. When I say traits, I'm talking height, weight, speed, athleticism, and those really get you over the hump in terms of being able to make plays. When you get into the pros, now you got to defeat somebody over and over
yeah.
and over again. Mind you, Smitty, man, my first game ever was against Walter Jones, perennial All Pro, first ballot Hall of Famer, best player I ever played against. So much so, this crazy, this true story, man. My rookie year, I had 4 sacks in the preseason. I only played 3 games. They sat me out the third one. I guess they thought I was gonna be the next Reggie White or something. So Walter Jones was holding out for a new deal. I'm reading this. I know we got Seattle first game of the season, so I'm like, oh man, this how I'm sitting in the meetings week one. Oh, I'm about to eat. I'm about to eat. Man, Schmitty, he signed literally like 2 days before the first game. I'm still like, okay, I'm good. Schmidt, I ain't touched the court. I ain't sniffed the quarterback, man. I'm talking, man, he was nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
And so, not just him, I had to play against Orlando Pace. Pace was in the same conference.
Oh, I
And
forgot about that.
they was both like a year or two right outside their prime. Maybe a year. They were still very, very good players, but they were, like 30. You know what I'm saying? But still super technically sound. I mean, you couldn't even really see the quarterback, man. I'm talking about just some huge human beings. They can move. And what
Yeah.
struck me as crazy, man, they never talked. They would just make plays, do their thing, and just go back to the huddle. And I'm like looking at him like, man, he ain't even sweating out here. We in Arizona in September, week one. It's 130 on the field. I promise you, man, he ain't drop a drop of sweat out there. I was like, bro, you that nice, you don't even
Wow.
sweat. But again, it's like you look at let's just stay with the outside linebacker defensive end space. I know you're a Steelers fan, T.J. Watt. What makes him great is he can win one-on-one matchups. When
Yeah.
you averaging basically 12 sacks a year for your career, you basically
Yeah.
unblockable. You know what I'm saying? And even when you are blocked, either we got to put 2 people on you, we got to slide protection to you. We have to make so many concessions to stop you. It opens up other avenues for other players,
Yep.
and you also affect the game and the game plan that people have to face against you. I remember playing against J.J. Watt, man, when he was in Houston in his prime. Man, the offense, man, they were shook, man. And not to say that the players were shook. I'm talking about the game plan was shook, and the things
Yeah.
they was doing to try to thwart this man from even just affecting the game was crazy. And
Yeah.
so again, man, you can't get in a space to where it's either you a dominant one-on-one player or you are really, really great in your role. And so like I really like, man, I like Jeff Teague, man, the storytelling. He's telling a story about Derek Fisher.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw
And,
that.
and the crazy part about it, man, when I tell you that shit is so true, like you can go out here, you see a cat getting busy, and you look at him like, man, I see you, but hey, make sure you get you in a space to where you good though, where like he said, what's your role? You a role,
Yeah.
hey man, you better get you a role out here, cause if you can't get a role, and people can count on you for that role, then we get somebody else in there. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why in football, man, it's the sport where, like you said, you got to beat somebody one on one. Every play, you either beating them or they're beating you because you can't break even in football. You can't break even. Different positions, they have different ways of measuring who won or who didn't win that battle. What J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt had to do to win their battle is different than what, Revis had to do on Revis Island. But you can't break even. Somebody on a play has to dominate the other. It just is. It is what it is. And when you're in that type of sport where it's a physical dominance, and it's not about always blowing by somebody or putting a move on them, or in baseball you got a dominant pitch, that's cool, but with this you physically have to dominate somebody else, and it's not always equal with size. Like you're talking about Orlando Pace, man. You couldn't even see the quarterback once, but yet you got to figure out a way to win that battle. And it's very rarely that you're going to match up with somebody that is your exact same size. Somewhere or another, you may be bigger, you may have a speed advantage, but somewhere along the line, you're going to have to overcome some advantage that player may have over you in one aspect to create that dominance, man. And that's what I think also makes it unique. And you got to kind of have I say to play defense in football, you got to have one or two screws loose, dog.
Oh,
You're not walking around sane.
no.
You're not. You're a cool person. You're smart, intelligent, but you got to enjoy locking up with another person, and they train. I think that's the gladiator mentality, man. But look, Pace.
Go ahead.
Nah, I was gonna say, man, we're about at that mark, man, on the show. One quick topic I want to toss out at you, man. We can jump more into this on the next episode, but I was thoroughly disappointed in the Olympics. Not so much in the the quality of the athletes, but that committee got to get it together. And I'm glad to see that they're not bringing breakdancing back for the for the 2028 games. I don't know how the hell they convinced the committee to get that done. And I was watching where was she from? She came in last place, Australia. Come on, man. I thought that was a joke. I thought that was a whole joke, but they really need to sit back. That committee needs to be fired. Everybody on that committee that voted for breakdancing to be a part of it needs to be fired, or at least at minimum tarred and feathered.
Man, it ain't even just breakdancing. What are we playing 3-on-3 basketball in the Olympics for? It even going past that for 2028, they talking about adding football. And there's another sport I'm looking at like for what? And look, man, I'm for anybody who is brave enough to put themselves out there in front of other people for something they love to do. I really am. I think that's a trait, and that's something that man, it take a lot, man. It take a lot to put your equipment on, whatever it is, your uniform. Lay it all out online, what you've been practicing, to win some, to lose some. It take a lot. You know what I'm saying? But that being said,
Not
I just feel like
breakdancing. Damn
I feel
that.
like I feel like they can streamline it. I also feel like what we're talking about off the air. I think that realistically, it could be every 2 years. I think it could be every 2 years. And I think that I don't know, man. I mean, even with like the basketball, like, why do y'all feel like you have to play a different brand of basketball?
Yeah,
Because the irony of it is, you're essentially playing against other NBA players, other NBA caliber players. I get the styles are different in Europe. I get the Euro game and the FIFA rules are different, but it's almost like it's almost unwatchable. Just the style of play
yeah,
that's so much different than what they play. Again, I get it. You're basically playing with an all-star team, and it's like every sport has the guy, right? Every sport has a guy to where either we're looking to get the ball to this person, or the game plan has it to where, you know, last drive of the game, hey, we going to Dez. Everybody know it, right? We're
yeah,
gonna design a play to get the ball to Dez, right? I get all
yeah.
that. But when you're playing with all superstars, it's like they all be standing around looking stupid, in my opinion. It's like just like who getting the ball, who gonna take the shot? Oh, I don't know. Like man, like go play. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Go play.
that
Um, I think
is.
I think the most watchable thing in Olympics is track.
Oh yeah, man. That's yeah, and that's why that 2 year thing works, man. I mean, I should you know in track and gymnastics and other sports, why should I have to one wait 4 years to see you, and then two, in most of those situations, you get to see them one time, maybe two Olympics if you're good, three if you're just blessed and it's a rare situation, because there's always someone younger. But every 2 years, at least I can see you in two, and you can make some money in between, because I think it's a different level of marketing and branding money you can make when you've been to one Olympics and you ain't going back versus you've been to one and you coming back for another. I think you can have a lot of build up. The athletes can come out and make some money. That came up as a topic too. Why the athletes of other countries, the deals they get if they win a medal or win a gold medal versus what our athletes get. And I think it's because in so many other sports, our athletes are one and done. But if you create an atmosphere where you at least getting two out of it, and you don't have to change locations, like I said, you can go the same location for 2 years, and then after that, you can kind of switch it up, but you lock it in, and that way you can create more opportunities for athletes to do a build up versus every 4 years. That's a long ass wait. And then you got athletes, man, imagine training. I was looking at what happened with the women's 100 meters, man. You've been training for 4 years, and Sha'Carri Richardson, they wouldn't even let her get in to warm up because she didn't travel with the team. So you sitting there, you security, you know who she is, you know what's going on, but because she didn't come in on the team bus, now she can't warm up properly. And I think it was Shirley, what was her name for Jamaica? I can't remember her name. Price. She was the same situation. They wouldn't let her in, and she didn't have a proper warm up. Then started having hamstring issues. When there's stuff like that going on, man, I think that's a problem, because a lot of what we do in America for our mainstream sports, and even some of the sports that aren't quite as popular, the way we do it is so different to the way the rest of the world runs their sporting. Like basketball, you got FIFA. I mean, for every sport, you got a different organization that runs it a lot different, and it puts the way we do things in a whole different space. Like I didn't know that a lot of athletes, they don't get a piece of the TV money. I mean, you look at the ratings that NBC and different networks get from even just showing the Olympics. You know how much money Simone Biles has made from these networks and just the Olympics she's been in, the amount of money that networks are getting ready to make showing that Steph Curry highlight of the last 3 minutes of the game in Paris. And yet the players get $0. If that was in America, man, and it was American ran thing, ain't no way in hell. No, you're gonna have to break off some of that bread from that. But again, that's what I'm saying. Some of that's gotta change, man. It's gotta change.
Yeah, man.
Or people gonna stop watching. Well, look, man. Um, yeah, man. We can go ahead on and we'll get ready for the next episode, man. Everybody tune in. Shark Jockey Weekly, man. Me and Pace, we're gonna get it in, and Don't forget to tune in.
We're gonna have some information for you. Got another week coming up. Football. Got more sports coming up. Hey, we got youth sports coming up. High school.
Yeah, we got to jump into some of that.
But yeah, anyway, man, take it easy, bro. We'll do this again next week.
All right, man. Take care.
Peace.